abusing children with Down syndrome at school, tying a mask to their head. That's where we are as this country keeps on sliding into the abyss, followed by the so-called leadership of Joe Biden, who won't wear his mask. Yeah. And then we've got the immigration debacle happening at the border. We're going to show you things today that you need to see. Plus, we're going to introduce you to a woman who's running for the governorship of Nevada. Today's program is red hot.
Why aren't the people in Washington putting themselves in harm's way? Why aren't they walking the walk as well as talking the talk? Their position in Washington is to do the will of the people. I don't see anybody in Washington doing the will of the people anymore. The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I am DML, and you are listening to the Dennis Michael Lynch Podcast. The exclusive sponsor of this program is DMLCBD.com. Go there today and get the best CBD products that can make you feel great again. This podcast is for independent thinkers who want to recapture the great American experience, and they know it all starts with sharing the unfiltered facts, truth, and opinions I give you every day. Today's podcast will both shine a light on the solutions that can fix our nation's biggest problems, and it will make you the smartest person in the room. Here we go.
Joe Biden tells everybody they got to wear a mask. He's going to save America. You got to wear a mask. Come on, man. Come on, man. Wear your mask. Got to mask up. Got to wear a mask up. We start today's program with the president who has one set of rules for you and one set of rules for him. Play the video right now of what Joe Biden just did, his latest speech.
He just coughed into his hand. You see it? He coughs into his hand and he walks off, and now he's going to go shake hands.
Coughing into his hand with his COVID. And then going and shaking everybody's hand. That's Joe Biden. Now, the reason why I start that, the whole program off with that clip, is because the outrage I have, if you can't hear it in my voice, the outrage I have is insane. There is a little girl in Florida. She has Down syndrome. You may have seen this on the DML News app. The DML News app covered this story. So did others. But you know what? It was a flash in the pan. Did you see this on the New York Times? You didn't see it on the New York Times. No way. You're not going to see it on any of the lamestream media. Because you want to know why? Because it shows how disgusting these school districts are. How disgusting it is that these school boards are. A little girl, I'm going to show you her picture in a second, right after we play the video, because I think it hits harder if you see her beautiful little face.
Listen to this description of the event given by a state representative.
When she got off the school bus a few days ago, her father saw her and she was wearing a mask. Now, in my school district, we have an illegal mask mandate, but she was wearing a mask, even though even under their own illegal mask mandates rules, she shouldn't have had to. But it wasn't enough that she was wearing a mask because she's a special needs nonverbal Down syndrome child, who, by the way, 3 weeks earlier, the school district had called the parents and said, your daughter's taking her shoes off in school. Could you help us to make sure she keeps her shoes on? They were willing to call about that. When her father saw her get off the school bus, she was wearing a mask and it was tied around her head with nylon rope. The mask was full of saliva. The girl couldn't breathe. Father's furious. How could they do that to my daughter today? So he went to the school and he talked to the school and he found out they didn't do it that day. They had tied this mask around her face every single day for the previous 6 weeks that she was in school. They just forgot to take it off that day before they sent her home. So when the parent said, what on earth were you thinking, to the teacher and to the principal, their answer was, the school board told us that our students all had to wear masks. There's a special place in hell for the 3 people who did this to this girl. This girl experienced real child abuse at the hands of the Brevard County School Board.
Look at this little girl. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Let me tell you something. He said there's a special place in hell. Before you get to hell, I'd rather there be jail. Those 3 people need to be fired. That's first and foremost. And then after they're fired, they need to be prosecuted. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, I'm a huge champion of him. He needs to get involved here because a precedent needs to be set. A message needs to be sent. We are not going to stand by as parents. We are not going to stand by as Americans as we allow these radical school districts who are calling us, parents who care about critical race theory, who care about masking, who care about these ridiculous vaccine mandates. We care about the education of our children. You understand? We send our kids to school primarily for one reason: get an education. And when we send our children to school, we expect them to be safe. We expect them to be treated like human beings. We expect them to be treated like children. We do not expect those teachers, we do not expect those people who sit on boards to be the real domestic terrorists, because that's what they are. If you send your little 5, 6-year-old, 7-year-old to school, and that child is subjected to some human being, an adult even, who is going to basically tie a mask to their head so it cannot be removed, and then let alone make it a child with special needs, a Down syndrome, let me tell you, I can't say on this program today what I would have done had that been my child. I can't say it. You know why I can't say it? I can't say it. The fact that that father just went up to school and just politely asked is beyond me. How he was able to confine his emotions, confine his anger. Something needs to be done about this. This just can't be a headline. This just can't be something that people say, oh, can you believe that happened? What's going on in the country right now with this COVID nonsense? It's BS. It's total BS. Every report continues to show that children who have COVID, who have passed on, meaning they died. There's only one reported case from Johns Hopkins where it was actually a child who didn't have underlying issues, didn't have obesity issues. COVID is nothing to a child. I'll tell you what's more dangerous to a child. We're going to get to a story in a few seconds here about DWI and illegal aliens. We're doing nothing about them. I'm furious over this. Furious. Where's New York Times? Because let me tell you something. If that was a little black boy with Down syndrome and some Trump teacher who had Trump bumper stickers on the back of his or her car tied a mask around a little black boy, you would see everything in the New York Times thrown at that teacher. You would see everything on CNN thrown at that teacher. You would see riots in the streets. You'd see people burning down schools, demanding because Black Lives Matter. But when you got a Down syndrome child who is the child of white parents in Florida, well, then you know what? It just doesn't matter. We're just going to skip that one by because it's COVID-19. We got to keep everybody protected. Everybody's got to be protected from the flu. Meanwhile, over at Facebook, I found myself a couple of weeks ago defending Facebook, and here I am again. I'm going to defend Facebook for the second time of my life. I should be able to go on Facebook and voice what I'm saying right now freely, without any objections, without anything tossed in my way. Because what I just gave you is a true story. What I just gave you is true statistical fact. Children are not in danger when it comes to COVID-19. Only an absolute asshole will think otherwise. This is out of the AP today. In March, as claims about the dangers and ineffectiveness of coronavirus vaccines spun across social media and undermined attempts to stop the spread of the virus, some Facebook employees thought they had found a way to help by altering how posts about vaccines are ranked in people's news feeds. So basically, Facebook's employees are playing God. If I put this story up about this young lady, this little 6-year-old child, about how it was that a Down syndrome child was subjected to this nasty domestic terrorism by these radical lefties who run the schools, they would have decreased my reach because they don't agree with it, because I make sense and it doesn't fit to their narrative. So Facebook employees thought they had found a way to help. By altering how posts about vaccines are ranked in people's news feeds, researchers at the company realized they could curtail the misleading information individuals saw about COVID-19 vaccines and offer users, get this, posts from legitimate sources like the World Health Organization, which is basically in the pocket of the Chinese. Yeah, so forget about the story that came out of Florida that I just told you about. We're going to come up with the who. Facebook employees, the douchebags from Silicon Valley. Quote, given the results, I'm assuming we're hoping to launch ASAP, one Facebook employee wrote, responding to the internal memo about the study. Instead, Facebook shelved some suggestions from the study. Other changes weren't made until April, when another Facebook researcher suggested disabling comments. So if you want to make a comment about the vaccine, you can't. Disabling comments on vaccine posts in March until the platform could do a better job of tracking anti-vaccine messaging lurking in them, that proposal was ignored. So the Facebook employees, the scumbags over there, are trying to silence you because they don't agree with the fact that you have questions. Your mother may have died. Your name could be Dennis from Texas, a guy who I actually interviewed on this program based on his comments that we saw on Facebook. There was a Facebook post from a guy named Dennis from Texas. His mother is 65 years old, got the booster shot and the flu shot on the same day. 5 days later, she's dead. We got that guy from a Facebook post. I interviewed him. He cried on this program. You probably heard it. Well, you know what? If the Facebook employees got their way, his comment would have never seen the light of day. So I agree with the uppers at Facebook. I agree with Mark Zuckerberg when he says you got to let people have their free speech. The COVID craziness. I had on yesterday a pilot who said, until we all stand up and say, go F yourself, and I'm putting words in his mouth. He didn't say it, but he basically said it in a more controlled manner, if you will, using other terminology. I have said it to you, until we all stand up every single day, this nonsense is going to freaking continue. It gets worse. It gets worse. We are designed as a military to fight 2 wars at any given time. If we cannot defend ourselves against 2 wars at any given time, we are going to lose our foothold as the superpower of the world. We're already losing it. Joe Biden is stripping away our powers as I speak. China is going to dominate the world within no time at all. In fact, today I had to choose on whether or not I wanted to talk about this or talk about the advancements that the Chinese have made in their missile program. They're dominating. We're worried about critical race theory and taping masks to children's faces, and the Chinese are sitting there laughing their asses off as they're coming up with missiles that are going to wind up getting around our missile defense system. But that doesn't matter, because all we give a damn about is making sure that we jab everybody with a vaccine that does not work as touted. A vaccine that is designed for the first strain of COVID, which is long gone. U.S. Marines, active duty Marines face a November 28 deadline to be fully vaccinated, and Marine reservists face a December 28 deadline. The message said, and that message was posted by the United States Marine Corps. The United States Marine Corps on Saturday posted a message telling all Marines that you ain't vaccinated, you got yourself a heap of trouble. A Marine is considered to have refused the vaccine when they do not have an approved administrative, medical, or religious exemption or pending appeal and have willfully disobeyed a lawful order for a superior commissioned officer to be vaccinated against COVID-19, or if they will not be fully vaccinated by the deadline. Those with pending administrative, medical, or religious exemption requests or appeals will not be considered to have refused the vaccine until those requests or appeals are adjudicated, the message said. But according to military.com, as of October 20, the Marine Corps has not approved any religious exemptions. But, tell them that you're a Muslim and you got to wear a friggin', a face covering. They'll let you do it in the Marines. Furthermore, the message said Marines who are not fully vaccinated are not considered deployable, will not be re-enlisted or promoted, and that unvaccinated Marine officers without approved or pending exemptions will be relieved of their command or be unable to assume a command assignment. So in other words, we're going to get rid of U.S. Marines. As of right now, I think the number is 17%, almost a fifth of the U.S. Marines that are active do not have a shot. 8%, or I should say, are not fully vaccinated. 8% are halfway unvaccinated. This is what we're doing to defend our country. Yeah, like a vaccine's going to defend us against the Chinese. The assholes running this country. It gets worse. We'll go to immigration. Get the video up. I want to show you what the caravan looks like coming to the United States. This is just posted about 10 hours ago. Look at the crowd of that people. That crowd right now is coming to the United States. Come back to me. That crowd right now is coming to the United States, and there's going to be nothing that's going to be done. Nothing at all to be done to stop them. So you know what? We're so worried about our kids. We're so worried about our kids. Yeah, let me tell you something about what we're not worried about. Let me tell you right now how screwed up things are in this country, because it is getting so out of control. You ready? Listen to this one. Fox News. Fox News won't even call him a legal alien. They call him a non-citizen in Houston charged with 3 counts of murder, released from jail, permitted to attend school. Can't make this stuff up. The teenage immigrant in Houston, he's not an immigrant, he's an illegal, who was charged with murder and aggravated assault in a car crash that killed 3 valet drivers, has made bail. Ahmedel Tayyib Alalula Madawi. Yeah, and I screwed that up. Who was originally from Sudan and not a U.S. citizen, was charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of aggravated assault with serious bodily injury following the October 1 crash. The 17-year-old made bail this weekend and is required to wear an ankle monitor under house arrest until his next court hearing on December 15. He will be permitted to attend school and church during that time. This guy killed 3 freaking people, and he could go to church and school. But if you want to go to church during COVID, you can't go to church. And if you go, you got to sit separated from everybody, and you can't sing. But we're going to let a murderer, a 3-time murderer, go to church. Oh, and by the way, he could also go to school. 3 people he's murdered could go to school. No problem. No problem at all. Madawi's bond was originally set at $350,000, which included $100,000 for each murder count. A judge later reduced the bond to $220,000, $60,000 for each murder count, plus $40,000 for the aggravated assault. The guy was doing donuts in the parking lot on the evening of October 1 in a client's car. A police officer attempted to conduct a traffic stop, but Madawi took off. The car then hit 3 valets, 22-year-old Eric Odorna, 23-year-old Nick Rodriguez, and 18-year-old Fran Macho, before flipping and crashing into a fence. The men were declared dead at the scene. Madawi and a passenger in his car also sustained injuries, but he's okay enough to go to church, and he's okay enough to go to school. It gets better. It gets better. Guatemala man here illegally in the United States kills a Florida girl, 5 years old. A man living in the United States illegally fled from a deadly Florida car collision in which a 5-year-old girl was killed Saturday, authorities said. Ernesto Lopez Morales 32, a Guatemala citizen, was speeding in a 2005 black Chevrolet Suburban with his headlights off around 8:30 p.m. when he collided with the rear of a 2016 Hyundai in Polk County. The Elantra, being driven by a woman with her daughter in the back seat, was pushed more than 600 feet before vehicles stopped. First responders arrived and found the girl dead at the scene. The woman was taken to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. And the guy's got a couple of scratches on his face. Witnesses said they saw Molares flee the scene on foot. He was later found at his home, and he allegedly told investigators that he had drank 6 32-ounce beers and left to buy more. He admitted to not having his headlights on and leaving the crash scene. He also told deputies he left the crash because he doesn't have insurance or a driver's license. A search for his driving history revealed that Morales did not have a driver's license from Florida or any other state. And at the time of the blood test, he had a blood alcohol level of 0.108 grams of alcohol per 100 milliliters. The legal threshold is 0.08. Morales is charged with driving under the influence, manslaughter, leaving the scene of a crash-involved death, DUI property damage, and other offenses. He is being held on $22,500 bond. That's it. That's all it's worth. A 5-year-old, all her life is worth is $22,000. He is the second person in about a week that has been killed by, this is the second person in a week that has been killed by someone illegally in this county, the judge said. Well, I'll tell you what, it's Florida. I go back to DeSantis. You better start doing something like Greg Abbott's trying to do in Texas. Here we go. Play the video of what's happening right now in Texas.
A shocking scene in Spofford, Texas, Monday afternoon as we witnessed dozens of illegal immigrants hiding inside of a train car in which they had been hitching a ride in the blistering heat. While embedded with Texas DPS, we watched as troopers pulled the migrants out one by one. All of them single adult men who had been hoping to use the train to get further into the U.S. 23 men were pulled out in total, and their demeanor changed noticeably when Texas troopers told them they would be going to jail for criminal trespassing instead of being handed off to Border Patrol. Earlier in the day, we saw more migrants hitching rides on trains passing through the area, which is about 40 miles inland from the border. When this train came to a stop, Texas DPS arrested the migrants on board, 5 of them in total, all men. They told us they were trying to get to San Antonio. Troopers checked them for tattoos, looking for possible signs of gang affiliation, and then took them into custody. They will also go to jail for criminal trespassing. And take a look at this video. On Sunday, in the exact same area, Texas DPS found 19 migrants hiding inside of brand new cars that were being shipped on trains. How they got inside of them is unknown. Texas DPS has been working the train yards for months now, often encountering runners and migrants who are trying to evade. They've made more than 1,300 arrests on trains since July. That includes gang members and cartel members. And Texas doesn't believe in catch and release.
Our message is do not come to the state of Texas because you will be apprehended, you will be placed in jail. We're not going to lay out the red carpet like we're now what the federal government is doing. We're going to apprehend these individuals and place them in jail, and that's what we're doing right now.
They need to go to jail big time. But you know what? In order for that sort of thing to happen, because look what he just said, the federal government is stepping back. The federal government is doing absolutely nothing. Joe Biden is allowing this country to fall into the dark, deep abyss. I've just told you about people who are dying because illegal aliens are basically running around this country doing whatever they want to do in plain daylight. But God forbid you don't wear your effing mask at school. We're going to tape it to your face. We need more fighters. We need governors who are going to fight for the American citizens in this country and not for the illegal aliens and not for the members of the CDC. There's a woman in Nevada. She's running for governor. We're going to show you her video that has been watched more than 2 million times. Play the video and then we're going to bring her on.
I'm Michelle Fiore, and I'm running for governor. I spent my whole life fighting the establishment. I was the first female majority leader in the Nevada Assembly and one of the first electeds to endorse Donald J. Trump. And you better believe I was attacked for it. Washington Post called me a gun-toting calendar girl. And Politico magazine said that I was the Lady Trump, and I don't care. We need outsiders, fighters, not the same old boring, moderate, compromise, blue blazer politicians. Let's start with a 3-shot plan. Ban vaccine mandates, ban critical race theory, and stop voter fraud. The Joe Biden administration is coming after me. I'm Michelle Fiore, and I'm ready for the fight.
Michelle, I love the video. I thank you for joining me today. I'd like to add a 4th bullet to that. We need you to do something about illegal immigration. I know Nevada's getting its ass kicked when it comes to it as well.
It's very true. It's very true. And we can. The problem is we have elected officials across the state and across the nation that don't put anything in place. And Democrats, Democrats promise them this, they don't do that. Republicans are just like, come here legally. So it's really, and then what we have is we're paying tax dollars when they put them into the private prisons, holding cells. That's all on the taxpayer.
So what does it look like right now in Nevada? I mean, you're running as a Republican. I know there are a lot of people in the race who want to be, the nominee. What do things look like for you right now? What are your challenges? What looks promising? Give us both.
Well, none of my primary opponents have the record that I have. And I actually think that you and I met back in 2014 in Bunkerville, if you recall. And so when you look at protecting the people of the state of Nevada, and you look at fighting, and you look at my record against all of my primary opponents, and my Second Amendment stance, and it's very important to have that voting record. A lot of folks can talk the talk, but when they actually see my voting record and legislation that I've put forth, that says a lot.
So, I mean, you brought Bunkerville. You're talking about the Bundy, the day at the Bundys. I mean, very, very interesting. Were you part of government at that point?
Yeah, I was the assemblywoman. I was the only elected that would go out there and stop the BLM from, they were so militarized. And in the long run, I remember you were walking and you had your camera and you're like, it's a camera, it's not a gun. I remember you yelling that. Yeah. And, yeah, it was tense. And, there's, when you're a servant leader, you protect the people. You don't let the federal government come in your state and point guns and shoot up cattle and do bad things. And in the long run, we won. I mean, everyone, the case was dismissed. It was acquitted. I mean, the evidence that was suppressed. I mean, it was a really bad deal on the federal government's part.
So getting back to what it is that you would do for the state in general. I mean, you had your 3-bullet plan there. I mean, obviously, those are 3 hot topics right now. CRT in schools, there's no place for it. The vaccine mandates are ridiculous, not to mention the vaccine is sort of for a strain that's already passed us by. And then your third part was about, election integrity. The third part sort of jumps out at me because it's sort of like, where do you start and where do you end with that? I mean, there's got to be a part of you right now, knowing the fact that the elections are questionable at best. We don't really have a handle on what's going on and who's doing what. And of course, if you say anything about it, the mainstream media and everybody else are going to call you a terrorist because you don't believe in the integrity of the elections. Are you a little concerned about?
Very concerned.
Yeah.
So what we did here in Nevada, which was, we've never done that. During our legislative session, they passed a bill very quickly to send out like 1 million and something mail-in ballots to everyone, right? So we've got 50% of the folks that voted in a mail-in ballot. Now, we have absentee ballots. You can request an absentee ballot. What they did was they basically put all of these ballots out there in order for people to cheat, okay? So, for instance, I live by myself. I take care of my mom. So my mom lives in my house. We received 5 ballots, right? Only 2 ballots should be here. We've been in this house 5 years, right? So, but we received 5 ballots. I literally took the 3 ballots and hand delivered them back to the election department at their office and said, you really need to get these folks off the voter rolls. And, so this is, and understand, Nevada tipped by like 2.9%. It was like 35,000 mail-in ballots. That's all it took in the whole state of Nevada to change the election. So when you're mailing out, 1.5 million ballots across the state, there's a lot of shenanigans that happens.
So, look, I expect this from the Republicans. I mean, I expect this from the Democrats. The Democrats are going to do everything they possibly can to win. And meanwhile, it always feels like the Republicans are sitting on their hands. I mean, what are the Republicans doing in Nevada to try to offset this? I mean, to combat it? Anything?
Yes, absolutely. So we are, well, number one, we've been door knocking. Number two, we've been looking at all of the ballots. For instance, I took a big chunk in Clark County. We put paid walkers out. We were door knocking. Let's say the name was Jeff Jones. And we would door knock, hi, does Jeff Jones live here? No, he doesn't live here. Okay, but he voted from here. How long have you been in this house? And we always try to do the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he had just moved and whatever. Nope, we've lived here 5 years. We've had them sign affidavits and do videos, and we bring them back to the election department. So we have to, with a fine-tooth comb, go through every county, every district, and ask the candidates that are running to get involved and take control over their election. Because if they don't, and if they don't watch every ballot that comes in, it's going to be a problem.
Oh, of course it is. Now, with that being said, are you getting the support of the GOP? Because see, it's my opinion that a large part of the GOP, especially the establishment, the more elitists, they don't want Trump. They never wanted Trump. They don't want him tomorrow. They didn't want him yesterday. And, your video starts off brilliantly with your Trump bumper sticker on the back of the pickup. I mean, you said that they called you the female Trump. I mean, are the GOP elitists pushing back on you? Are they trying to ignore you? Are you getting any party support at all?
Yeah, so our chairman, Michael McDonald, he is a loyalist to Trump, as well as myself. So one of the things that we've done in the last 3 months is we have done so many polls with all of the primary Republican voters. And we found it's about 70-30. 70% of primary Republican voters are for Trump. And then you've got the other 30%, like the Romney Republicans, I call them, that will badmouth the president of the United States, badmouth fellow Republicans. And I live this. I have Republicans that are, I don't know, they just have their head not screwed on straight, and they'll say bad things and they'll attack. But I look at who they are and the party affiliation, and they are the moderate 30%ers. So one of the great things with the 30%ers is when it comes to a primary election, you've got to be a conservative Republican to get through it. So, my primary opponents, the majority that have a voting record are just that, very moderate. We have actually a Democrat in the race who doesn't really live in Nevada. His home is in Utah, but that's another story for another day. So he switched over from being a Democrat to a Republican because basically he was too afraid to run in the Democrat primary because he thought the governor right now, who's Democrat, would, I guess, cream him. But anyway, so these are the men that I'm running against. And so I will outwork them. They'll spend a lot of money. I'll spend half of what they spend, and we'll get our message out.
So how many primary opponents do you think you're going to wind up facing by the time that the primary's here?
Probably 7 or 8. I think we've got 6 in right now, 6 or 7 in right now. We've got the former U.S. Senator Dean Heller, who's a never-Trumper. We've got the sheriff of Clark County, who doesn't want other people to have guns, but yet he'll promote, I've been wearing a gun for 30 years. Yeah, you've been wearing a gun, and you've refused to let other people wear guns. Then you've got the mayor from North Las Vegas, the Democrat, that switched over to be a Republican. that literally canceled Trump's park. Trump was coming to Nevada, and we were going to do it in North Las Vegas. And the mayor got a phone call from his Democrat governor and said, "You better not have Trump in your park." And so he canceled it. And then we picked it up, and Don Ahearn, we put him in the manufacturing warehouse, and it turned out even better than
Even
what
better.
it would have.
Are you the only female in the race?
I am.
You are. So, I like to think I specialize in a few things better than others, and one of them is, branding and things of that nature, the videos. And I watched your video, and I can't remember the African American girl from Baltimore. I think her name is Kim Klacik or something like that. And she did a video. She was running for Congress. She did a video like that, and it got a lot of press, got a lot of following for her. She didn't win, but again, she was trying to stop the ocean from hitting the from hitting the sand. Winning in Baltimore as a Republican. But I mean, in your case, I think the videos have to keep coming. Obviously, I'm sure you've been told a million times before, you look great on camera, which is always an important thing. You got to be camera ready. You look great on camera. You got a strong message. You're articulate, and you're the one female in the race. How are you right now polling with female voters?
Well, I've won 8 elections here in Nevada, in southern Nevada. So the females, we have a lot of strong females here in Nevada, and me and our female voters get along amazingly because they are strong women, and I promote women, and I love women. So I get along great with our female constituents, and they support me. They support me a lot.
Good, because I think right now when I speak to females, especially moms, the thing that always comes out of their mouth first and foremost is they can't believe what's going on in the schools. And I mean, we just spent a third of this program talking about the ridiculousness that's going on in the schools. Talked about this Down syndrome girl here in Florida who basically had her mask tied to her head, and the father didn't know for weeks because they would sneakily take it off her face before she got back on the bus, but they forgot on one particular day, and here it is, the father's taking her off the bus, and he sees it. I mean, parents right now are up in arms. And I think, and obviously that's one of the first things that you're talking about there with CRT in your video. I mean, yep. What message, if there's one message right now that you wanted to, anybody who's listening to this program in your state, if there's one message that you want to give out to the voters, be it female, male, whether they're parents, whether they're grandparents, they're solo, what is your overall message, the elevator pitch to why somebody should not only vote for you, but before they get there, maybe donate to you?
Because together we can take the state back. And when I say together, we have our parents at the school board meetings. Our mayor for the city of Las Vegas, she has fought with the governor many times about his, closing the city down. We've never closed the city down. So really the message is together we can take our state back, and we will.
When you look right now across the country at the Republican governors, if you were to compare yourself, and I'm not talking about female or male, gender here doesn't matter in this particular case. When you look across the states and you see the Republican governors, if you had to compare yourself to another governor and say, if you like the way that person's governing, that's what I'm going to be. That's who I'm going to be. Who would you pick?
I would say Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is amazing, and so is Kristi Noem.
There you go. Where do people go if they want to learn more about what you are all about, where you are positioned on the issues, and if they want to donate, where do they go? What's your website?
Vote Fiore. So it's V as in Victor, O-T as in Tom, E, F as in flower, IORE.com. VoteFiore.com.
Ms. Fiore, I thank you for your time, and I wish you all the luck in the world in this race.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, there you go. You got to make the decision whether or not she's right for you. I mean, I like the fact she's a fighter. We need more fighters. We need more people who are standing up for the principles of this country. No, don't stand up for the special interests. Don't stand up for the lobbyists. Don't stand up for the unions. Stand up for the people. Put your money where your mouth is. And I'm so happy she picked Ron DeSantis, because that's the one thing about Ron DeSantis. So, you know what's going on with Abbott? Abbott, to me, is finally waking up. He's realizing the fact that his moderate stance for all those years are going to come back now to haunt him. And he's looking at the polls, and he's got a freaking Hollywood actor who doesn't even declare yet whether he's a Republican, a Democrat, or whatever, leading in the polls for governor. So Abbott's looking at that, and finally he's doing what it is that should be done in Texas. He's cracking down. Better late than never, I guess. But Ron DeSantis started out the gate as being a champion for the people, doing the right thing. So she compares herself to that. She compares herself to Ron DeSantis. So definitely worth looking into. All right, that's it for me today. As you can see here on teamdml.com, we've got the video going. In fact, we were able to go to clips, and I want to thank my producer, the beautiful and multi-talented Ashley Lynch, who is in the other room right now, calling all the shots from Mission Control. So we're going to keep on improving on the program here and coming in with the video clips and the visuals and things of that matter. You got to give us for the full week here. We'll finally get it down perfect. If you are listening to this on the DML podcast, on the DML app, or from Apple, iTunes, wherever it is that you're getting your podcasts from, think about going to teamdml.com and signing on as a member. You get to watch the video instead of just listening to it. You get to see what it is that we're talking about. It's up to you. It will cost you a couple of bucks, but it's well worth it. Let me also say to my existing members, very important, membership time for those of you who aren't monthly, those of you who pay annually, that time is coming up. And we are going to have a special program for you. We're going to announce it I'm going to announce it tomorrow, to where with your membership this year, you will actually be able to choose a DML CBD product that we will send to you for free as a gift, because you stayed on again in 2022, maybe the most pivotal year of this show's history and life and all of our lives, because we have such an important midterm. If we don't win these midterm elections, Joe Biden, God only knows what he's going to do to the country by 2024. It will be too late. So it's a very important year. I need your support. I need you to be a part of things. We're cutting out video clips of the program here to share them far and wide on all the social media platforms that we possibly can. I need you to stick with me. And like I said, you're going to be able to actually pick what it is that you want for your DML CBD. And if you never used it before, well, you know what? It's time you think about it. We've got everything. We've got stuff that will make you sleep better. We got stuff that will make you feel better in terms of getting rid of the pain. If you're somebody who's anxious, we've got this one woman, every time I go to this one particular restaurant, she's a user of DML CBD. She's a customer, and she goes, Dan, I tell you, I feel so much calmer now that I'm taking your products. I said, well, there you go. And of course, look, for those of you who want to boost the immune system, there's never been a more important time. You got all this crap floating around, all these viruses floating around. You got the flu season coming back up. You got to boost your immune system. With that being said, we always run the buy one, get one free whenever we can. And I've said to you multiple times, and this is one of the last times I'm going to say it, we have been victimized by the supply chain mess as much as anybody else. Manufacturing delays, it's widespread. And so we're not going to be able to do the BOGO as much as possible. So we've been running products for BOGO all month long. Now we're down to the last product. DML CBD mints. It was specifically designed for people who are on a tight budget. DML CBD mints, a very effective product. People love it, but it's our cheapest priced product in terms of cost. So if you want, go to dmlcbd.com/mint, dmlcbd.com/mint right now, but ending October 31, you could get a buy one, get one free for either the 30 count or the 60 count bottle. That's dmlcbd.com/mint. Get there now while we have the supply, get you buy one, get one free. It ends on October 31st. And then there's going to be no more BOGO for the rest of the year. And I don't know when we're going to be able to do it again in 2022 because of all the mess that's going on. That's it for me. Until the next time, God willing, tomorrow, may God bless you, your family, these United States, our troops, freaking poor Marines, and that little girl who got that mask taped to her face, and that little girl, 5 years old, who lost her life to an illegal alien. Man, we got to really shape up our act. We got to shape it up big time. We need fighters. We got to start fighting for people. Talk to you soon.
This podcast is produced by Anita Griffey, Lori McLean, and yours truly. And you could subscribe by going to the Apple Podcasts page and search for Dennis Michael Lynch Podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Or you can download the DML News app from the Google Play Store for Android phones and the Apple App Store for iPhones. And do not forget to visit our sponsor, DMLCBD.com, so this way you can feel great again.